First matter that a person should pay attention to as far as the dunya is concerned, the first matter that he should have awareness concerning is what the dunya actually is. What is on offer for you on the table as far as dunya is concerned? What is it that the people of the dunya are chasing after and pursuing? Concerning this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in His book, اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. You should know that this worldly life, it is nothing other than play, amusement, beautification, and boasting between yourselves, and competing in amassing wealth and children. So this is what the dunya is. This is what is on offer for you on the table. This is what the people of the dunya end up chasing after. Shaykh Abdullah al-Sa'di rahimahullah, he said concerning this ayah that Allah the Most High, He informs us about the reality of the life of this world, the reality of the dunya, and the reality of the people that are chasing the dunya, after the dunya. He informs us about the end result, the pinnacle, the summit of what you get out from the dunya. It is la'ib and lahu, play and amusement, recreational activities that we may engage in, hobbies that we may pursue, sports and what have you. This is your la'ib, the physical play that we engage in. Walahu, amusement, the amusement that the people engage in, socializing, chin-wagging, the virtual socializing, the socializing of, and the passing time of Facebook, the passing time of YouTube, the socializing of WhatsApp and Twitter and Instagram and what have you. This is what is on offer for you. Wazina, beautification. Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di, he said, inclusive of this is a beautification of your clothes. The clothes that we're wearing, it is dunya. Inclusive of that is food and drink. The meal that you may have had before you came here, that is dunya. The cars that we ride in, dunya. The houses that we live in, dunya. Jah, wanting and respect and recognition and status, all of that it is dunya. وتفاخر وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد, boasting between each other and competing and amassing wealth and children. So and so, he's living in such and such a part of London. I need to do better than that. I need to get a better house than he does. Where are your children studying at school? They're studying at such and such a place. Well, my children, they're studying at such and such a place. What grades are your kids getting? Your kids are getting B's. My kids are getting A's and A stars and so on and so forth. This tafakhur, this boasting, this is what the dunya is. This is what you have on offer for you on the table. And so when a person realizes this, he realizes this first part concerning what the dunya is, what is available for the people of the dunya to chase. And the second matter that a person, the sincere seeker of truth, should consider, the second matter that the person, he should ask and inquire about, is what is the value of all of this? What's the value of the dunya? What's the value of our cars, of our clothes, of our food, of our drink, of money, of wealth, of status? What's the value of all of this? And the short answer to that is that the dunya, it is worth absolutely nothing. The dunya, fi dhatiha, in and of itself, it is worth absolutely nothing. Yes, this does not mean that a person cuts himself off from the dunya. This does not mean that a person detaches himself away from the dunya As Allah has said, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your portion of the dunya. You have to have something of the dunya in order to sustain yourself, maintain yourself. In order to get to the afterlife, you need to maintain yourself. Therefore, a person is meant to take something of the dunya. But the point is that the dunya, it is meant to be in your hand, not in your heart. A person is not meant to be passionately in love with the dunya, besotted with the dunya, such that he ends up preferring it over the afterlife. That is the point. That a person, he attains something of the dunya. There is no harm in that. A person has to have at least some degree of the dunya in order to survive. But the thing that is considered madhmoom, blameworthy, is that a person gives precedence to the dunya over the afterlife. He ends up loving the dunya, becomes infatuated with the dunya, such that he ends up forfeiting matters related to his deen. That is when it becomes blameworthy. So the dunya, it in and of itself, it is not worth anything, but a person does need a portion of it in order for him to maintain himself. But in and of itself, it is not worth anything. And thus Sufyan al-Thawri, he said, إِنَّمَا سُمِّيَتِ الدُّنْيَا لِأَنَّهَا دَنِيَّةٌ. The dunya has been given this name, dunya. Why? Because it is daniyah. It is low. It is base. It doesn't have any value. And Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Uddat al-Sabirin, in it he strikes a fantastic example concerning the dunya and concerning what the dunya is, the reality of the dunya and the reality of that man, of that woman that is a passionate pursuer of the dunya, such that he or she neglects the hereafter. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, in this example of his, he compares the dunya to a human being. He compares the dunya to a human being so that it can hit home. He said, وَأَشْبَهُ الْأَشْيَاءِ بِهَا إِمْرَأَةٌ عَجُوزٌ شَوْهَاء. The dunya, it is like a woman. But what type of woman? Like an old woman. Like an old, deformed woman. وَأَشْبَهُ الْأَشْيَاءِ بِهَا إِمْرَأَةٌ عَجُوزٌ شَوْهَاء قَبِيحَةُ الْمَنْظَرِ وَالْمَخْبَرِ. A woman that has an ugly appearance and has an ugly, vile reputation. غَدَّارَةٌ بِالْأَزْوَاجِ. Someone that is treacherous to the men that she ends up marrying. تَزَيَّنَتْ لِلْخُطَّابِ بِكُلِّ زِينَةٍ وَسَتَرَتْ كُلَّ قَبِيحٍ فَاغْتَرَّ بِهَا مَنْ لَمْ يُجَاوِزْ بَصَرُهُ ظَاهِرَهَا. This old hag, this old woman, she ends up beautifying herself with all forms of beautification. And she ends up concealing all forms of disgusting negative features. And so the person, he ends up being duped. The one who is unable to see beyond this physical appearance, this external appearance. That type of person who cannot see beyond this veneer of that is in front of him, he becomes duped by her. He becomes tricked by her. He becomes deceived by her. And that is the dunya. We all know it. That is the dunya. It makes itself look so beautiful. Wealth makes itself look so nice to you. Status makes itself look so tempting to you. Cars and position and jobs and career, all of these things, they make themselves look so beautiful to you, so nice to you. But in reality, it is nothing. It is disgusting. As the Messenger ﷺ informed us that if you want to see what is the value of the dunya, look as to what happens to the food that you consume. That food that we see when it's served on the plate, it looks so nice and delicious. But then you know what the end result of that food is. You'd never even come close to it. This is the dunya. This is wealth. This is money. This is what status is. It is not really beautiful, but it beautifies itself to you. It camouflages its ugly, vile nature and makes itself look beautiful to you. That form of the dunya, that is at the expense of your hereafter. So now, the man who is seeking marriage from this old woman, he becomes deceived by her, becomes duped by this old woman that is making herself appear so beautiful. فَطَلَبَ النِّكَاحِ. So he seeks her hand in marriage. And the old woman, she says, لَا مَهْرَ لِي إِلَّا نَقْدِ الْآخِرَةِ فَإِنَّنَا ضَرَّتَانِ وَاجْتِمَاعُنَا غَيْرْ مَأْذُونٍ فِيهِ وَلَا مُسْتَبَاحٍ. The old woman, she says that there is no mahar for me. The dunya says to you, there is no mahar for me. There is no dowry for me. If you want me, you can have me, except one thing. Except the currency of the afterlife. Why? Because me, يعني the dunya, and the afterlife, يعني Jannah, we are darratan, we are co-wives. And us being together, us being married to the same man, cannot happen. It cannot be possible, cannot be legitimized. فآثر الخاطب العاجلة وقال ليس على من واصل حبيبته من جناح. And so the khatib, the marriage suitor, he ends up preferring what is ajila, what is immediate, what is instant, what is in the now. And he said there can be no blame upon the one who only wants to be with his beloved. The dunya comes to you and it says to you, you can have me, however, forsake your hereafter, forsake paradise, become negligent in your deen, start forfeiting something of your deen, and then you can have me. You have a job offer, fantastic opportunity of a lifetime. But then you find there is something in the contract, a clause within the contract that says you'll have to forfeit something of your religion. You have something of the dunya, a house, furniture even. You want to pay on in installments, and you find in the contract there is something that indicates that there is some type of riba involved. But the one that ends up preferring what is immediate and instantaneous, he says, you can't blame me for wanting to be with my beloved. This job that has been offered to me, I've wanted this job ever since I was a little kid. This is what I got educated for. This is what my career, the progression that I've made in the career ladder, this is what it's been about. Therefore, don't blame me for just wanting to be with my beloved. Don't blame me for wanting to pursue this career, for wanting to pursue this education, for wanting to be with this woman, for wanting to be with this man, for wanting to have this dunya. And so he marries her. The man marries the dunya. But then Ibn al-Qayyim, he goes on concerning this example. He said, فَلَمَّا كُشِفَ قِنَاعُهَا وَحُلَّ إِزَارُهَا إِذَا كُلُّ آفَةٍ وَبَلِيَّةٍ. Now when the veil is lifted from this old woman, this disfigured woman, meaning the dunya, and the skirt is untied, then behold, every single affliction, every single vile characteristic is there, manifest before that marriage suitor's, or now that husband's naked eye. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ طَلَّقَهَا وَاسْتَرَاحَ. So from among them, from among those who end up marrying the dunya, are those that divorce her, and thus they become relaxed at ease. Like some of us may have tasted something of the dunya in our life. And then you realize it wasn't all that. The way that the dunya was making herself out to be, it wasn't like that. I was better before when I had less wealth. I was better before when I had less recognition. I was better before I fell into this temptation. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آثَرَ الْمَقَامِ. But then there are those people who will end up preferring to stay with the dunya. Even though he realizes, you end up realizing that the toil and the labor that I have to go through in order to earn that pound that is at the expense of my deen, it's not really worth it. You end up realizing, but you become an addict to the dunya, and thus it becomes difficult for you to let go. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آثَرَ الْمَقَامِ فَمَا اسْتَتَمَّتْ لَيْلَةَ عُرْسِهِ إِلَّا بِالْعَوِيلِ وَالصِّيَاحِ. So there are those people who end up preferring to stick with the dunya, even though you realize it's not all that. And thus his first marriage night is not sealed, does not come to an end, isn't concluded, except with weeping and wailing and crying. Just like that man, that woman, that is pursuing the dunya like some passionate lover of the dunya at the expense of the afterlife. There is no harm in pursuing something of the dunya as long as you are not being negligent concerning your deen. But that man that continues to labor and toil over the dunya at the expense of his afterlife, then he experiences that stress, that regret and remorse over becoming an addict of the dunya in this life, and likewise in his grave. That night in his grave isn't sealed, doesn't come to an end, except with weeping and crying and wailing, i.e. the punishment of Allah for having preferred the dunya over the akhirah. But the one that is aqil, the one that is shrewd, the one that has some fitna with him, he has some intelligence with him, that type of man, that type of woman is the one that talaqaha, divorces the dunya, meaning he divorces himself from the dunya that is at the expense of his hereafter, divorces himself from that part, that portion of the dunya. As the poet, he said, Inna lillahi ibadun futana طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنة. Indeed, to Allah belongs intelligent slaves. Why? طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنة. They divorced the dunya, fearing its evil. نظروا فيها فلما علموا. They looked inside the dunya, but when they came to know أنها ليست لحي وطنا, that the dunya is not for a living person, a homeland for him to stay. جعلوها لجة. They turned the dunya, they treated the dunya as a lujjah, as an ocean. واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا. And they converted and changed and treated their actions, they considered their actions as ships via which they sail from the dunya into the afterlife. That is the mentality of the person who has some aql, has some sense. The dunya, he has it. Great amounts of inheritance comes to you, and this is a test from Allah. This is a blessing from Allah via which he tests you. To be grateful, or are you going to be ungrateful? Wealth, if it comes to you, there is no harm in that as long as it is in your hand, not in your heart. So when a person, he realizes this, that number one, what is the dunya? What is on offer for me on the table as far as the dunya is concerned? Number two, he realizes the value of this dunya. And that in reality its value, it is nothing in the eyes of our Rabb subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the third matter that a person should inquire about, the one that is sincere, he will inquire about, is, do I love the dunya? Am I one of these people that is passionate about the dunya?